Hello friends, in this session I am going to give you just a brief introduction of state legislature, and based on this brief introduction, in subsequent session I will take up important topics related with state legislature for an in-depth discussion and analysis. But you need to have some basic understanding about the state legislature. Friends, within the scheme of Indian Constitution, within the framework of Indian Constitution, we have federal polity. So in India we have federal polity, and within the federal polity we have two power centers. One is the union and the other is the states. Okay, other is the states. And within the scheme of constitution, there is division of power between union and states, and this is what make Indian polity federal in nature. At union level, we have legislature, and the legislature at union level is popular in the name of parliament. Whereas in each state we have state legislature. Okay, in each state. And there is division of power. Okay, but before I tell you about the division of power, I would just like you all to remember that part 5 of Indian Constitution is on union, but part 6 of Indian Constitution is on the states, and within part 5, chapter 2 is about parliament, and within this chapter we have included all articles starting with 79 up to article 122. So key provisions related with parliament finds mention in chapter 2 of part 5 of Indian Constitution, and articles which are related is article 79 to article 122. As far as states are concerned, part 6 talks about the states, and within part 6, chapter 3, right? Chapter 3. These facts, if you forget also, no problem. Chapter 3 is about the state legislature, and I would just like you all to remember this, that all provision related with the state legislature finds mention from article 168 of Indian Constitution up till article 212. All the provisions are given. But in each state we have a separate state legislature, and at union level we have the legislature in the name of parliament, right? In the name of parliament. And if you examine the legislative relationship within the scheme of Indian Constitution, then you will find that overwhelming legislative powers we have given to union, and comparatively very weaker is the position of the states as far as legislative relationship between union and states are concerned. I would just like you all to remember this, right, that 7th schedule, okay, 7th schedule of Indian Constitution, that talks about 3 lists, okay. So list 1, list 1, list 2 and list 3. Why I am saying this? And this list 1 is union list, union list. List 2 is state list, list 2 is state list, and list 3 is concurrent list, okay. The list 3 is the concurrent list. Concurrent list. Now, what I would just like you all to remember, that originally how many subjects were there in union list? 97 subjects. Originally, how many subjects? 97 subjects were there in union list, okay. How many subjects were there in a state list? 66 subjects were there in a state list. And how many subjects were there in the concurrent list? 47 subjects were there in the concurrent list, okay, in the concurrent list. But now if we see, present scenario if we see, how many subjects are there in union list? 100 subjects are there in union list. How many subjects are there in state list? 61 subjects are in the state list. And how many subjects are there? Okay, how many subjects are there in concurrent list? 52 subjects are there in concurrent list. I would just like you all to remember that through 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976, 5 subjects were taken out of a state list and they were put into concurrent list. So this is why after 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, the number of subjects came down from 66 to 61 in state list and the number of subjects increased in concurrent list from 47 to 52. But as far as the union list is concerned, originally we had 97 subjects, but we have added some subjects later on when we identified them as new subject. So a very close examination of the scheme which finds mention in 7th schedule of Indian Constitution will bring you to this conclusion that as far as legislative relationship between center and states are concerned, center is very strongly placed and states are very weak. Why? Because more subjects for legislation we have brought under the purview of Parliament for legislation. I hope you all are aware that on union list, Parliament has the exclusive legislative rights. Only Parliament can legislate on the subjects which are in union list. On concurrent list subjects, both Parliament and the state legislature can legislate, but in case there is any conflicting provisions within the law enacted by Parliament and the state legislature, then parliamentary legislation will override the state legislation to the extent of inconsistency. So on concurrent list also, Parliament is strongly placed. Not only this, on a state list, a state legislature can legislate, but in extraordinary situations which finds explicit mention in different articles of Indian Constitution, Parliament can legislate even on state list subjects. One example is Article 249. Another example is Article 250. You must have studied about them while studying the nature of Indian Constitution. So what I am just trying to say, that more subjects we have given to Parliament to legislate, not only more, not only quantitative difference, but even qualitative difference. All important subjects are there in union list. Comparatively lesser important subjects are in state list. Not only that, I told you, residuary power is with Parliament. What is the meaning of residuary power? The subjects which are not explicitly mentioned in any of the three lists, on such subjects we have, Parliament to legislate. Okay. So, a close examination of legislative relationship of union and states can bring us to this final conclusion that Parliament has overwhelming legislative powers in comparison with the states. So, what you will find that the union legislature, that is Parliament, is, President, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha together constitutes, the Parliament, which is the supreme legislative body of the country. But in most of the states in India, in most of the states, we have unicameral state legislature with governor and state legislative assembly, right? This is what is the composition of state legislature in most of the states. And in some states, we have bicameral state legislature with governor, state legislative assembly plus the state legislative council. This is the composition of state legislature in some states. And which are these states as on date? In Bihar, in Uttar Pradesh, in Maharashtra, in Karnataka, in Andhra Pradesh, and in Telangana. These are the states where the composition of a state legislature is governor plus state legislative assembly plus state legislative council. Whereas rest all other states in India, the composition is governor plus state legislative assembly only. So this is just a brief about the state legislature. Now we will take up for discussion in detail the specific provisions about the state legislature.